So our movie poster's looking pretty good, but it needs just a little bit more. I want to throw in a little bit more text here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a black bar right across the top of the poster here, and that's going to help tie the whole poster together. So we're going to have black across the top here, and that will help tie into the black area down at the bottom. And I'm going to type in some kind of a tagline for our movie poster here as well. So probably the best way to do this is inside the layers panel. I'm going to go and create a brand new blank layer. And I'm going to make sure to give this guy some kind of a useful name, top black bar, as opposed to all the other black bars I have inside this artwork here. And I'll grab my rectangular selection tool here, and I'm just going to click and drag a box here. This is probably the easiest way to do this, something like this here. And I'm going to hit the D key on my keyboard. That'll switch me back to my default foreground and background colors here. Option delete or Alt delete on the Windows side to fill with that color. Looks fantastic. I'll deselect here. Now, a little bit of fine tuning here. I'm going to take my black bar and actually move him below the sewer creature. So now I have the tentacle and the top of his head coming up over the top of the bar here. In fact, I'm going to make my black bar a little bit skinnier. I'm going to use my free transform here and just kind of tighten this up a little bit. Maybe something like that. Great. All right, now we are ready for some text. So I'm going to grab the type tool inside the toolbox. Grab that guy there. It might take a moment here. The fonts are going to load in. And the first thing that I'm going to do is have a look at the options bar right up at the top of the screen. Look at all the formatting options that I have here. So the font and the style, the size, the anti-aliasing, alignment. But what I'm going to go after is the color here. So I'm going to click on this little color swatch here. And this is our first look at Photoshop's color picker window. We'll take a closer look at this dialog box inside the next chapter. But for now, I'm going to make sure that I click on the white area way up in the top left corner here. That'll set my color to white. I'm going to set my font. You can use whatever font you want. I've got a good one planned here that I want to use. Acme Secret Agent, and I'll set his style to bold. And I'm just going to single click right on that black bar there. And I'm typing in here, terrifying beyond imagination. Now, what I could do is I could select my text here and change the font size this way. But I find that's kind of a tricky way to work. I have no idea how large I want this text. I just want it to fill the black bar. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to go to the Move tool inside my toolbox, and I'm going to use my free transform. I'm just going to scale this guy right up. I don't really care if he winds up being 30 point or 32 point or whatever. That doesn't really matter to me. What I want is that text fitting in there perfectly. Great. And by the way, have a look at the layers palette. Check that out. Every time you click with the type tool, you get a brand new layer that contains all of your text. Now, it looks like I need to do a little bit of fine tuning here. I'm going to take my sewer creature here and I'm just going to move him down just a little bit there. I don't want to cover up my text. Okay, great. Good stuff. The next thing I'll do is I'll add in a little bit of text way down in the bottom right corner of my movie poster here. I'm just going to make sure that the next type layer that I create is going to get created at the top of the layers panel. So I'll just grab my group here, back to the type tool, and I'll single click way down here. And I'll type in, "Don't dare come alone." I'll hit Command A here or Control A on the Windows side. Select all the text inside that little text object I just created. I'm going to center align it here, and I'm going to switch my bold back to regular here. Back to the Move tool, and I'll head into my free transform one more time. Rotate this guy around, scale him up a little bit. There goes the screen, going wild on me one more time. That's one of the drawbacks of using this full screen mode, by the way. But I love the full screen mode because it gives me so much space to work inside. Okay, great. Arrow keys just to kind of position things up. Looking great. All right. The other thing that I forgot is I forgot an exclamation point on the end of the word imagination way up at the top. Well, that's really, really easy. If you ever want to adjust your text, edit your text after the fact, no problems. I'm going to go back to the type layer there, terrifying beyond imagination. I'll grab my type tool here inside the toolbox, and I'm just going to single click after the end there and type in an exclamation point. That's all there is to it. Just nudge this over to the left a little bit. Okay, things are looking great here. All right, we're almost done. I want to add in a couple of small taglines, and this will give me an opportunity to show you a couple of other text-related issues here inside Photoshop. So I'll zoom in on the poster's right-hand side here. I want to put a text object right in here. Maybe that's a little bit too close. Maybe about there. Okay, now what I've been doing with the type tool so far is I've been single-clicking with them, right? And that's going to create a line of text. Some people call this artistic text. So in other words, I could keep typing and it would type right off the edge of the document if I wanted to. The other thing that I can do is I could click and drag a box here. And what that does is that creates a text box or a text frame that I can type inside. So I've clicked and dragged out a text frame here. Now I'll type in my text. The sewers rise from the streets. I'll select all here. I'm going to center align this. I'll take the bold off one more time. And maybe I'll crank up my font size a little bit. Oh, a little bit too big there. That's what I mean about using the font sizes here. You really don't know, especially when you're doing a layout, something like this. Okay, great, good stuff. Oh, you know, the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to change the color of my text from white to black. I'm going to hit the T key on my keyboard. That toggles me back to the type tool. I'll select my text here. I'll click back on this little color swatch here, back into the color picker. Grab black way down in the bottom left corner. I'll click on OK. And you know what? I should show you something else too, just while I think of it here. There's a lot of settings along the options bar here across the top. The very last one, though, if you prefer to work more in a palette view rather than using your option bar across the top, you can certainly do that. So just click on this last icon here, and I get my character palette showing up. So there's the font and the size. There's my leading and kerning and all that good stuff, scaling horizontally and vertically. And I also have a paragraph palette as well. So if I want to control things like alignments and indents and all that good stuff. So that's completely up to you if you want to use that. Okay, so things are looking good here. I'm going to go back to my Move tool. And there's my new type layer inside the Layers palette. I'm going to create a brand new blank layer. And I'm just going to move that below my new type layer. Because what I want to do is I want to put a white box behind this text. So I better give this guy a good name here. White box. How am I going to create a white box? The good old marquee tool here. Something like this. Doesn't have to be too precise here. I'll fill it in. And I want to put a stroke around this as well. So I'm going to double click on this guy back into my layer styles here. This really isn't anything you haven't seen before. There we are. Click on OK. Looking fantastic. Back to the Move tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both layers here. Remember how to do that. Hold down Shift or Control or Command here on the Mac. Grab both layers and I'll just tap this guy over just a little bit. Something like that. All right, fantastic. Now, I wanted to do one more little text caption here, and I wanted to put it over on the left-hand side. So you know what? I still have my two layers selected here, right? So I'm going to take these guys, and I'm going to drag them down to the new layer icon right down at the bottom, and I'm going to get copies of everything here. And I'll move those copies over onto the left. Now, as you can see, they're all behind my sewer creature here, so I better move them up to the top of the list here. Just readjust everything here. Okay, I'll zoom in here. I want to change my text now. So I'm going to hit the T key on my keyboard. Highlight my text. There's that text frame that I created earlier. And I've typed in here a subterranean super beast. Doesn't get any cooler than that. Now notice the word subterranean hyphenates there. That's no good. So I'm just going to bring my cursor over top of this right hand handle here. I'll grab this guy and I'm just going to tug him out a little bit. Get rid of that hyphen. I'll go back to my Move tool here. Grab my white box. Do a free transform on this guy. Scale him up there just a little bit. Something like that. That is looking fantastic. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull that out just a bit more because I'm going to grab my text layer and just move him in just a little bit. That's getting cut off. Oh, I didn't pull my box over far enough. It's all about the fiddling and adjusting here. Get this guy absolutely perfect. There. Okay, looking great. All right, so there is my completed movie poster, ready to be printed off, ready to make millions at the box office. Fantastic, but more importantly, you got to see all about layers inside Photoshop. I really ran you through the gamut there, so I hope you enjoyed. All right, I'll see you in the next chapter.